You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Ours is a violent calling. But as adherents of the Promethean Creed, we believe in the Circle of Fire. None can come back as they once were. But in death, we are returned to the ash from whence we came. To be born anew.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Call to Lore. I'm Ben.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Jerry.
All right, and today we're covering Vulkan, another Primarch, a Loyalist Primarch, the Primarch of the Salamanders.
Yeah.
And just for those of you that know, Vulcan lives. Stomp, stomp.
Hey.
So, who here was familiar with Vulkan before we started looking into him?
I was not very much.
Not a
No.
surprise.
I was mildly so. He was one of the early Primarchs that you got into and would talk about
He was-
before we even started the show.
He was the first Primarch that grabbed my attention.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
He
Yes,
was.
that's right. Yeah.
So did anybody find anything cool and interesting surprising about this Primarch that they didn't expect?
I thought it was, yes, I would say there's a lot. Some things, I don't know if I want to spoil it beforehand.
Sure.
But, so there's a couple things there. So maybe I'll go, oh, yeah, that. The fact that he's a perpetual, it's like I knew it, but I didn't realize to what extent that was and how much of a mystery. Like, we don't know much about, like, the why of perpetuals. do
No,
we? Yeah,
not at all.
So.
I was wondering about the other Primarchs. Are they also perpetuals?
No, they are not.
Okay, so
He-
Vulcan is...
So he's pretty unique in that regard.
He's the
yeah.
only one that we know of that is a perpetual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that some of the other ones that haven't died before are perpetuals? Maybe.
Yeah. So I thought that was neat and kind of in that same vein of thought, kind of what was it? The Promethean Creed
The Prometheum cult.
cult. That's yeah. So I didn't know anything about that, but I thought that was an interesting name that's associated with him as well.
Especially for being allowed inside the Imperium.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wondered if that was because the moon of the planet that he
Nocturne.
comes from is called Prometheus.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the moon is. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so with that, let's go ahead and dive into it. Jerry, you are responsible for the early sections of Vulcan's life when he was what we call a Primarch baby.
Yeah, Primarch baby. When the babies were abducted by chaos
Correct.
Right. Yep.
and strewn about, he landed on Nocturne, which is a death world.
Yeah.
That was another thing I didn't know was that he grew up on a death world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Nocturne is. I mean, as far as death worlds go, if that holds any sort of actual value,
Right.
it's less so than say like Catachan or Barbarous
yeah.
from Mortarion,
Yeah.
but it's still kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And a death world is a place that's really hard to settle
Yeah.
for humans.
Yeah.
It's
Vir-
just a very
virtually
harsh
impossible.
environment.
Very hostile planet.
Yeah, but they do get settlements there.
Yep.
He was, I think, taken to from what I read, he landed in the house of this blacksmith guy.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So his name was Imbel.
Bell.
Bell?
Yeah.
Nice.
Hmm.
Can you imagine?
Just
So I have wondered. So Vulcan has onyx black skin
mhm.
and glowing red eyes, which is a mutation response to the radiation of Nocturne.
Oh.
I wonder how quickly did that happen?
yeah.
Was it like, did the capsule bust open? He was just like, whoop. Because can you imagine being this blacksmith? He's just sitting there hammering away. All of a sudden, a pod crashes into your house. It opens up. It has a baby in it. The baby suddenly turns black and has flaming red eyes.
Well, I think he was aware of the Promethean cult prophecy of the child savior.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So he named him Vulcan. That's who named him.
Okay.
Is in Bell. And then when he reached the age of adulthood at 3 Terran years,
Yes. Yeah.
he was like full bodied already, like bigger than any man on Nocturne.
Yeah. I think like most of the ones that I've read, they were like the size of a regular adult by the time they were like a year and a half or some shit like that.
Well, he improved the metalworking technology that they had because they smith stuff there. That was kind of one of their specialties.
Right.
And he would hunt the great saurians and other beasts of the volcanic wilds,
Which were known as salamanders.
yeah, the salamanders, which
Ah.
is big, like sort of fire dinosaur.
They're
kind of thing.
dragons.
Yeah, basically dragons.
They're dragons. They're dragons without wings.
Ah.
And they also had to defend against dusk wraiths, which were Dark Eldar.
Nice.
Oh.
It's the slavers that would come and steal slaves and torture them and stuff.
Believe
Holy
you're familiar
cow.
with the Dark Eldar.
I remember the Dark Eldar
Yeah.
from our episode, The Dark Eldar.
The homunculus. Look it up.
Yeah.
You should go check out that episode.
That's a cool episode.
It had a really good quote in it. You
It was
should look-
fun.
It did. That was Jerry's debut quote.
It
Wasn't
was.
Yeah.
That was a hoot.
Ooh, blew it out of the water.
Pain.
He blew it
Blew it
out of the water.
Out of the water. Thank you. Yes, finish that.
Phrasing. So in his 4th year, there was this Eldar raid, and everyone was running and hiding and being afraid. And Vulcan was like, "No."
He'd had enough.
So he grabbed 2 blacksmith hammers, just 2 blacksmith hammers, and he rallied the people and was like, "No, let's fight them." So then those people got roused, and he ended up killing 100 of them by himself.
Oh yeah,
Single handedly.
because Primarch.
Yeah.
And so they fought him back, and then it was like a victory. So they were happy,
Yeah.
And that inspired people from the other settlements that are on Nocturne to come and pay homage to him and be like, "Oh, yeah, okay." And then they would be like, "We'll fight back too. We can do that now." So that was neat.
He inspired them to fight back.
And all the Dark Eldar went, "They fight now? They
fight now.
Fuck you, Disney.
So after that, they decided, they were celebrating their victory and they were going to have tournaments.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
To celebrate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As they, that was the thing that they did.
As you do. Yeah.
And that's when the Emperor kind of shows up, but he doesn't reveal himself to be the Emperor.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
As he often does.
Yeah. And he asks to compete. And they're like, you can't compete with our champion, Vulcan. He's our guy.
Well, I mean, not to mention he's probably like 5 foot taller than this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got muscles that have muscles. He looks like the kid from the Christmas Story. I can't put my arms down. Future, good luck in the editing of that clip, you bitch. Shit.
Shoot your eye out, kid. Okay. And then, so they were like, you're not going to, whatever. He was like, he wagered whoever would lose the challenge would have to swear loyalty and obedience to the victor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Okay.
That was the Emperor's idea. So then they decided, all right, we'll do it. And so they had these tournaments, and it was like, I think 9 days or something, like 8 days, I think, of tournament. And they just kept doing like tie for tie and like going toe to toe, and neither one outshining the other. And at one point they were holding, I think, an anvil over their heads. And that was like part of the tournament. And everyone else, like minutes after minutes, like
Of course.
they dropped the anvil and they're like, we can't do it. But
too
the
heavy.
Emperor and
Vulcan.
were just like not even tired, not even breaking a
I
sweat.
can do this all day.
They're like, all right,
Shit.
all right. So then they needed a tiebreaker. So the elders were like, go salamander hunting.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hunt down the fire dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Whoever brings back the biggest salamander, they win. So it's a salamander measuring contest.
Go
My
ahead, boys.
salamander was this big.
No. You're gonna have to whip out your salamander, and we're gonna have to measure it yourself.
Yeah, you got to have proof. You got to bring it
you
back.
gotta bring your salamander to the table. You can't just claim to have a giant salamander.
So they had 24 hours to forge a weapon.
Oh, cool.
And, I think,
Okay.
Vulcan made like a big warhammer,
Naturally,
Nice.
Yeah.
As you
and
do.
the Emperor made like a sharp sword.
Okay.
which also makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, technique over brute force.
Right.
But yeah, so they went to the summit of Mount Deathfire, where the largest of these dragons were. I love this name, by the way. Mount Deathfire.
Death fire. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
that
almost
sounds
spit
like a
my
fun
coffee
place.
out.
I mean, so like,
Yeah.
is that so out of place? Like, do you guys know the Dyatlov Pass incident?
Mm-mm.
Okay, long 50,000 foot overview is that these these experienced hikers went hiking in this area in Russia, and they wound up, I think it was Russia, don't quote me, it's one of those Slavic areas. They were hiking in this region that was called Dyatlov Pass, but like its name literally translates into you shouldn't go there.
Oh,
That is great.
And so, you know, a lot of these places have names. It's like, this area sucks.
Yeah. You know, I've always wondered that about like different words where it's like, oh, it translates as this. And it's like, so that would be like in English calling that place like, you know, Mount Deathfire, for
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
Yeah,
so what
that's
I'm
great.
saying is it's not so far. I was like, there's something
and,
nice to
and
Nocturne.
people that are like, oh, that sounds like a place I need to go.
I'm going to go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It doesn't have the oh my God, I'm going to take a shot for this. It doesn't have the effluence of Mount Doom.
Oh, stop.
You're right.
Wow.
You're right.
Okay. I knew that was going to come up. I knew it. I won't.
Mount Deathfire.
Yeah.
We're going to continue with Vulcan's story, but I have things to say on that.
So that's a massive volcano.
Right.
Yeah.
Mount Deathfire is.
Yep. Deathfire.
Vulcan ends up killing one of the drakes. Yeah.
Nobody
Nice.
thought he was going home.
Good
empty
for
handed.
Vulcan.
No, no.
Yeah.
He's been doing this a while. You know,
Yeah.
he knows what he's doing.
Take on a good Drake.
But this eruption happens.
Salamander.
And it like knocks him off the side of a cliff. And he's holding on with one hand, but he's got his salamander in the other hand. So he's like, you know, I can't get back up. So like, you know, strong as he is and everything, he's holding on to one of these giant salamander things.
Right.
And you know, he's starting to feel like he's gonna slip, and he's like, oh no.
Fellas, your salamander will just get you in all kinds of trouble. Just
Yes.
continue the metaphor.
No,
So-
hold on tight to that salamander.
So the emperor shows up.
Uh-huh.
He's clearly got a bigger salamander.
Naturally.
It's quite clear.
Yeah, I bet it's the biggest salamander.
It is the biggest salamander.
Biggest, thickest salamander.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But he throws it into the lava to like get to where sort of use it as like I think a bridge to get to where Vulcan is hanging off the edge of this cliff.
Okay.
And you know, he helps him up. And then they go back down to the village. And the village is like, well, Vulcan's the winner because he has the big salamander.
He's got the salamander. Yeah.
And then Vulcan like shushes the crowd. He's like, no. Shh, 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 shh. This guy, he valued life over pride. And so I will swear my service to him.
Nice.
Wow.
And that's a real bro. Not only did the Emperor sacrifice his salamander for Vulcan, but Vulcan was willing to admit in front of everybody that the Emperor had the bigger salamander.
It's in the bro code.
Yeah, it is. He wasn't going to salashame him. He wasn't going to salamander shame
You
him.
can't salamander shame him.
No,
He's got to take an L for the team.
that's right.
Wow. Okay.
I found that story incredibly amusing.
That is
It is.
is great. And oh man, I love how the emperor, like that's how the emperor won him over, was through like just being honorable.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And this carries on what I would probably describe as a very special relationship, although we don't honestly know what the nature of that relationship is between Vulcan and the Emperor. So we don't know what it is. We don't know what the nature of it is, but there are some telltale signs, and there's one really big factor that I'll get into as we go on because I'm taking over for now.
Yeah.
All right.
We're trying to structure this shit, ladies and gents. We're learning.
Wish us luck.
Yeah, good luck. 54 lanes and no turn signal. Good luck, everybody. But anyway, Vulcan took, for some reason, and we don't know why, an abnormally long time to join up with his legion compared to the other Primarchs,
Okay.
which meant he spent a lot of time with the Emperor one-on-one. So there's your first big clue that there's something different about Vulcan compared to a lot of his other brethren.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of his lack of talent or capability, certainly. We just don't know.
Right.
We don't know what took so long. But he was assigned to the 54th cohort during the Great Crusade. He actually saved his legion. They were fighting with the orcs, and they were fighting on this planet. I'm not going to try to remember its name, but it was a volcanic planet. Lucky for them. They were losing and had decided to. They had attracted basically all of the orcs from this that was raiding this system onto one planet. And they decided they were going to use the volcanoes of this planet to kill all the orcs and probably wipe themselves out. But it was going to take care of the orc problem, period.
Wow.
And so they started setting off the volcanoes. Like basically they were in this giant whole crater, but it was like, it was huge.
Right.
It was holding armies. And there was volcanoes around the edges, and they just started setting off the volcanoes around the edges of the crater so that it would start flooding the lava behind the orcs, but it would eventually hit them too, right?
Right.
And then
Interesting.
Vulcan shows up, takes out the attack moon that's orbiting the planet, and then teleports down and saves them, obviously. And that's when he gives them the name the Salamanders. One of the things that he did that I thought was really boss, he took all of the Salamanders that were from Earth and made them his honor guard.
Oh,
Wow. Instead of like a lot of the other Primarchs put their homeworld people they're like, I had fought with you. You were with me when I was a child, so on and so forth. And so you guys get the places of honor. Vulcan kind of did the opposite. He didn't degrade the guys he was with by any means.
Sure.
And they became first captains and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But his honor guard, which were called I think they were called the Pyre Guard, they were Terran born. And he felt that was because they had carried themselves with honor and had carried the Legion until he got there.
Right.
Cool.
And so I thought that was a really cool kind of detail.
I really like that too about him because you're right. A lot of them, they just kind of it was kind of a nepotism system before with the other Primarchs.
Yeah. And, although nepotism is, they knew what those people were capable of.
Right. Yeah. That's
and so
true. Yeah.
It's kind of more these troops, you know what they're going to do. So it is natural I think, to kind of put them in positions ahead of the ones you don't know.
Right. Until their merit proves itself.
But a lot of what happened was they never got to that stage.
Gotcha.
They were never able to kind of earn themselves past the troops that were from the home world of the Primarch. So yeah, it was Vulcan from the get-go kind of set himself off as different, which, is always great.
Yeah.
So the Salamanders did a lot of rear action guarding during the Crusades. They had suffered, we're not going to get into it because obviously we want to cover them on their own, but they had suffered a lot of heavy losses very early on before Vulcan had come along. And a lot of this is due to their kind of self-sacrificing, stubborn nature. We saw that with Vulcan with not letting go of the Salamander, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had that nature. And so they would throw themselves into situations that they couldn't survive and they would refuse to back down.
Mm-hmm.
So they were constantly getting decimated.
Right.
But what this did allow them to do is they worked with a lot of the other legions. They worked with the Sons of Horus. They worked with the Night Lords. They worked with the Death Guard a couple of times. They worked with the Emperor's Children. So they did a lot of support of other troops, which gave them a pretty unique kind of experience in the Crusades, I bet.
Right.
There was a couple of notable instances with other legions. There was one time that he was fighting the Eldar with the Sons of Horus and the Iron Warriors. So he had Perturabo and Horus with him. That sounds like overkill to me. They won.
Oh,
Because fuck those, what would we call them? Like feather brains or whatever, the fucking Eldar.
Oh, yeah.
Bird brains. That's
Bird
what
brains. Yep.
Yeah.
they want to call us monkeys. That's fine. But they uppercase fucked them out of the planet. And there was a moment that Horus went really brutal and just started bombarding the planet when he didn't need to. And this actually gave misbringings to Vulcan about Horus's nature. Ooh. And he had made a hammer called Dawnbringer. And, anything that Vulcan is a master craftsman. So anything he makes is fucking perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
He actually made it to give to Horus. And it was that moment that he decided not to. He kept it for himself. He felt that it was maybe a little too powerful for Horus's nature.
Wow.
That's good because I have here that it can has teleporter technology in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. This ended up being
good move on his part.
And it ends up saving his life later.
Good.
Yeah. So another one, he was fighting with the Night Lords, and this is interesting. This also kicks off a lifelong feud between Vulcan and Kurz. And I think it's because Kurz gave Vulcan a gift, what he thought was an actual gift, and Vulcan refused it. So they were raiding this. They were attempting compliance on this planet, and they were going to attack the capital city. And Vulcan was getting his troops already, was lining up, and he told the Imperial Army officers to stay back because he had a plan to send his men in first, and they were going to basically ignore the civilian fighters, right? All of their weapons and stuff would basically bounce off the Astartes.
Right.
And so he was just going to march through and wipe out the actual soldiers.
Oh.
And he's like, this way we'll reduce collateral damage, no civilians.
Minimize harm.
They do this, and as they're marching in, like no artillery opens up, there's no fire, no nothing. And they get in, and everybody's dead. They're hanging from ropes. They're gutted. They're skinned. They're swinging from lampposts.
Oh.
The Night Lords had managed to slip in, massacre the entire city, and slip out without the Salamanders ever noticing.
Whoa, no kidding.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, what a... So Conrad really did think he was doing them a favor.
Well, there's a confrontation between them after this.
Yeah.
And Kurz actually doesn't understand why Vulcan's upset. He even says, like, I gave you a gift. Do you understand that now you won't have to sack these other planets? He's like, you hate killing people so much.
Yeah.
It's like, now you don't have to. You're welcome.
Damn it. It's like, I kind of get it. I kind of get what Conrad's talking about. As awful as this sounds, right? It's 40K guys, but
yeah,
I kind of get it where he's like, I'm sparing you what you don't want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt people, so now you don't have to.
I can really see how Conrad would get there. So, it's so sweet.
In a way, Conrad's willing to take that upon himself.
I helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although he enjoys it, so is it really taking the burden?
Right. Yeah.
I helped you. Like that.
But
how did Vulcan feel about it though?
Vulcan beat the shit out of him.
Ooh.
Oh. Yep. Okay.
But it should be known that Kurz let him.
Yeah.
Kurz was suicidal.
Oh.
And so this led to like a big old feud between, Vulcan basically swore to never serve with the Night Lords again.
Yeah.
Conrad, although we don't have anything that explicitly says this, I think Conrad took that rejection personal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think he actually, as stupid as this sounds, I think Vulcan's reaction legitimately hurt his feelings.
I'll bet it did. Honestly, that's kind of what I was just going to assume myself, because that really is like Conrad's way of like reaching out. He doesn't do nice things for his other brothers.
No.
So that was maybe this is why, because he's like, well, they don't like anything that I do for them, so fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Conrad is legitimately insane. He doesn't, people like to be like, oh, he uses it as an excuse. And yes, but he didn't do it intentionally. He had no idea he was using it as an excuse.
Right.
So like, he doesn't get right and wrong the same way.
Oh, that's so tough, man. I mean, I hate to sit here and sympathize with the mass torture / murderer, but damn.
Oh, don't worry, we'll deal with that. We'll burn that out of you. But anyway, things for the Salamanders tend to carry on pretty standard right up until an incident known as Isfahan 5, the drop site massacre.
Oh, we may have heard of that a time or two before.
May have heard a whisper or two.
Yeah, I think we've touched on it. I don't think you can avoid it. But basically, Horus and some of the other traitor legions revealed themselves as traitors, and Isfahan 5 was the first real battle of the Loyalists and the traitors.
Fucking bastards.
Only it's called a massacre because the Loyalists didn't know they were really fighting that war.
Yep.
So the Iron Hands, the Raven Guard, and the Salamanders land on Isfahan 5 to fight the Emperor's children, the Sons of Horus, and the Death Guard. Their reinforcements are meant to be the Night Lords, the Alpha Legion, the Iron Hands, or the Iron Warriors, and I feel like I'm missing somebody. Doesn't matter. They're not really relevant. So the Salamanders take up position to fight the Death Guard. The Iron Hands, obviously, with Ferrus Manus having this grudge against Fulgrim, take up position to fight the Emperor's children. The Word Bearers. I forgot about the Word Bearers.
Right, of
course. The Word Bearers were also there on the side of Horus.
That's right.
Forgot about Logar. I knew I was forgetting somebody. And Argoltal. Yeah. So Ferrus Manus loses his shit going up against Fulgrim and stretches himself out way ahead of everybody. Vulcan tries to keep up with him, but at a lesser pace. Like, he's not losing it like Ferrus Manus is, but he's trying to like make sure they don't get cut off while also not making sure that he gets cut off.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pull an Angron.
Well, he doesn't want to pull a Ferris Manus.
Yeah.
Ferris is just charging it. The Iron Hands are charging ahead of everybody.
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, they are. And Vulcan and the Salamanders are trying to be that bridge between the three, right?
Okay.
Which then leads to like this stupid tier system where you have like the people aren't going to be able to see it, but you're just going to have to take my word for it.
No, you take my word for it. The Salamanders were on the left, the Raven Guard were on the right, the Iron Hands were in the middle. Now, what that idiot said about Ferris Manus is true. He was charging ahead recklessly, and Vulcan was trying to keep pace. However, he got the order completely wrong with his head firmly between his cheeks. How he got that idea, I'll never know. Thanks.
When basically the Salamanders get way overstretched. They are not as mobile as the Iron Hands.
Yeah, they're kind of more like a
bunkered up and let the wave crash against you.
Yeah.
They're not offensive fighters, although I mean they certainly can be, but they're better suited for slow moving, tight
holding or a slow advance, overwhelm,
siege situations.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are taking lots of losses when they hear that their reinforcements are inbound. Vulcan decides to pull the Salamanders back and or it's not the Iron Warriors. The Iron Warriors were the ones reinforcing them. They were fighting the Death Guard. So Vulcan decides to pull back from the Death Guard and let the Iron Warriors move up. Which is actually, if you were going to have a Legion fight the Death Guard, the Iron Warriors are a good one.
Oh, yeah?
The Death Guard are all about endurance and that slow advance, never stopping. The Iron Warriors are all siege warfare, both taking and keeping.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So they would be able to, that slow advance would be really shitty against the Iron Warriors. You'd be taking so many losses. But the Salamanders are retreating back towards the Iron Hands when finally Vulcan makes eye contact with Perturabo, the Primarch of the Iron Warriors.
Okay.
And that he kind of has this realization that something's wrong, and they immediately open fire on the Salamanders.
Oh.
Along with the Night Lords and the Alpha Legion. So they're taking fire from the Death Guard, which are behind them, which are technically ahead of them.
Yeah.
And they're taking fire from the Iron Warriors behind them, which are now ahead of them.
You are going to help me map this out.
Nah. Anyway, they get absolutely decimated, which then results they get decimated and forced into a corner, which is actually where the Salamanders are at their best, right? They're at their best when their backs are to the wall.
Yeah.
So Perturabo knows this. He's a master strategist, so he just nukes them.
Oh.
Son of a bitch.
Literally, like it describes where everybody's fighting. The Salamanders are holding them off, and just everybody goes silent as this giant missile shoots up into the air and creates like this giant arc, forming a horseshoe as it comes down right into the Salamanders. It's just like, boom.
Wait. So that hit Vulcan too.
Yes.
Okay.
There's actually this really good picture that you'll find right here where Vulcan is cradling the body of one of his favorite sons. His name is Numitor.
Oh.
And he's got his hammer raised to the sky, and it's right as he sees them, right before the missile comes down and hits everybody.
Damn.
So Vulcan tanks a nuclear blast to the face and stays conscious just long enough to see the Night Haunter kind of walk up on him, and then he goes out.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
When he wakes up, he is on a prison hulk, not a barge, a hulk. So it's, like the size of a continent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's owned and run by the Night Lords. Yeah, giant ship.
Yep.
Like Independence Day level, the one that's like it's the size of our moon.
Gigantic.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kurz really has a hard-on for breaking Vulcan's spirit because he views Vulcan as better than him, which he is. Vulcan is a pure spirit. I mean, he's shown, there's some instances where he's shown a temper. He kills an Eldar child out of anger because the Eldar killed a Remembrancer that he has a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
A cool fact about Vulcan is when he gets angry, he emits the smell of ash and sulfur into the air.
Oh, interesting.
That is neat.
And I'm unclear, but there's a few descriptions where it seems like he actually causes ash to kind of rain.
That's a neat weather effect.
But
Yeah.
there's
Interesting.
some other things like this too. Like with Lehman, there's some.
I thought of Lehman. When you said
There's
that.
a couple of instances where Lehman's in battle and he seems to be causing a lightning storm around him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they seem to be able. All of them seem to be able to kind of emit like a radiance of effect around them.
Of some
Right.
sort. For
It's like-
Logar, it's like light.
It's like like for the Emperor, like there's like a radiance. You feel like enamored by him.
right.
Yeah. It's like they have this massive aura, and some of them don't have like direct control over it.
Right. I think
You
think
know what
it-
I mean?
I think it's because they're all psychers, but not all of them are great psychers, and not all of them even can control it. So I think it's just like a thing they're doing without meaning to,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost on reflex.
Yeah.
So he wakes up and he is put through all kinds of tortures by Curse. Curse starts off with the standards. He has him shot by 100 bolters. He rips out his throat with a fork. He uses his lightning claws to rend him limb from limb. He shoots him into the exhaust vent of their ship. He jettisons him out into space into a sun. All of this does not nothing, but it allows Curse to understand that Vulcan is a perpetual, which means that no matter what you do to him physically, he will reconstitute. Not only will he reconstitute, but he'll do it with no side effects whatsoever, and he will do it in the closest, safest spot.
Yeah.
So, like when they shot him off into space and he went into the sun, he rematerialized on the ship.
Damn it.
Oh, okay.
Terrible. I was like, he could just float out in space for a while. Shit. Nope. Goes to the nearest safest spot, which is, the house of his tormentor.
Right.
Ugh.
Because it's the nearest, safest spot for
Yeah.
his body to reconstitute.
So this isn't like a Wolverine situation. It's not like he has like a cell left.
It can-
and
it can be.
it can be, but it's more like a
It's even
supernatural kind of.
Yeah. Even more so, like, it's like Wolverine times a million, where it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah.
Like even if he doesn't have a cell left, he's still going to come back.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like on a molecular level. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
So Kurz decides to break his spirit instead. And so he puts him through all kinds of not physical tortures. He has him in a room where he has to hold a very heavy chain. And on the other side, the chain is holding up a ceiling that if Vulcan lets go of it, crushes these innocent people that Conrad has rounded up.
And Vulcan has unusual empathy for humans.
Correct.
Yeah.
All of
Primarch
this
for a
is
Primarch, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
he does. There's nothing that Vulcan values more than life. Human life.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit about orcs, Eldar, or anybody. Like, no, that's not. Although to be fair, they don't care about us either.
Yeah.
He straps him and a group of other people. And when they say a group, I'm imagining it's probably like a couple hundred, right? Because everything they do is in large amounts.
Right. Yeah.
And he takes these people and he straps Vulcan to a chair and all of them to chairs around a banquet table that is full of food, and then he leaves them there to where they starve to death.
Just within arm's reach
Of
all the food, and he's just watching the food spoil and
correct.
the people die and rot.
And they're obviously the noises, and they would be using the bathroom on themselves.
Yeah.
They would be getting sores, and it would take weeks.
Yeah.
Another one, he put him in armor, battle plate that was automized and set loose on people so that he would just start slaughtering and killing these innocent people.
Oh.
Vulcan was in the armor and he couldn't stop it, couldn't control it.
Boy.
He used sorcery to make Vulcan fight and kill people like his brothers. He made him experience a false escape attempt by the Raven Guard, and then had Corvus turn on him, and so Vulcan had to kill Corvus.
Oh.
Wow.
So he made him see things.
Yeah.
None of this worked, and eventually Conrad just kind of gave up.
Yeah. His imagination finally ran out.
Yeah. And so what he did is he had Perturabo construct a maze, which means it's like layers upon layers upon layers, right? And he put Dawnbringer, which was Vulcan's hammer, in the center of it. And he says, if you can get to this hammer, we'll have a fight to the death, and that'll be the end of this.
Oh,
Because
okay.
remember, Conrad's suicidal, but also he knows when he's going to die. So, like, he can put himself in these situations, and he's just like, eh.
Yeah.
The problem is that his assumption is faulty, because what Conrad is seeing is one of many possibilities.
Right.
He just doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he thinks he knows for sure how he's going to die.
Right. And
Right.
through his own machinations, he makes that true.
Yeah. But it wasn't the only path that his life could have taken.
So Vulcan is wandering through this maze, and he gets to his hammer finally, and is inside of an energy field that he can't break. So he decides to start taunting Conrad instead.
Oh.
And starts telling him about how none of his brothers like him, how he's physically inferior, that the only reason why Conrad is doing this is because he can't take him in a one-on-one fight, which is 100% true.
Yeah.
Listen, Conrad's my favorite Primarch. I'm like, you gotta be an idiot to do this.
This Vulcan is very strong.
Yeah.
Vulcan big boy.
Yeah.
Vulcan big boy.
As Vulcan said, father made me the strongest.
More like Vulcan.
Vulcan, yes.
Been shaking his head, but
They can hear it. They can feel it. You ain't got to explain to them.
There was a disturbance in the warp.
Yeah. It was as if a billion disappointments cried out all at once. But anyway, Conrad, of course, falls for it, and he shows up, and he decides to try to fight Vulcan with his fists, no weapons. Stupid.
Interesting choice.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorite quotes that I use all the time, admirable, but mistaken. Vulcan grabs him and swings him into the force field and uses Conrad to break it.
oh my god.
You're now my hammer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just baseball bat swings him into the force field and breaks it with him.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
That's amazing.
Which proves literally any problem you have, no matter what it is, can be solved using the right thing as a hammer. Kids not listening, find the right hammer. Wife not listening, right hammer. Car won't start, find the right hammer.
Oh my god.
Society sucks, find the right hammer. Listen, it's a metaphorical hammer.
It is. I mean, a hammer can be used as both a tool and a weapon. It can build and destroy.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the themes of Vulcan and the Salamanders, right?
Oh, that's so neat. Nice. Yeah.
They
it's
use
true.
hammers, but they give it, if they were left to their own devices, they would be builders.
Yeah. It would be
Just like the
creating
Iron
cool
Hands,
things.
which is
Yeah.
why Ferrus Manus and Vulcan did have a nice relationship. They were both constructors. They were both blacksmiths,
Yeah.
forgers.
They hung out together for a while, didn't they?
They did.
Oh.
But anyway, so he gets to his hammer and he teleports halfway across the galaxy and into the atmosphere of Macragge, which is the home world of the Ultramarines. And he re-enters like a comet, burning himself up. Of course, he reconstitutes. But for some reason, this death left him mentally fucked up. When he reconstituted, he was really kind of feral, kind of screwed up.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wonder what. Like, how would that be worse than what Conrad did to him?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, he had just been through all that torture. Was that maybe it?
Maybe it was just the I
Reverberations.
finally escaped it, and there's one more horrifying amount
Perhaps.
of pain. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I get why he would break. I just wonder why that was the thing that did it.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
But anyway, Conrad follows him to Macragge,
Oh fuck.
which then leads to Gilliman and the Lion getting involved.
Okay.
And my favorite, John Grammaticus.
John Grammaticus.
I hate this character. I hate him so much.
He seems to be so prominent. We've danced around him
God damn it.
through a lot of this, but
So there is nothing wrong with this character. When he's in books, he's fine. His storyline is interesting. The only problem I have with it is for some reason, instead of just giving him his own series and letting it, motherfucker takes up chapters in other books. So you'll be like in the middle of this event and it's like, oh, let's check in on what John's doing. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, it has nothing to do with what I'm reading about right now.
yeah.
I don't fucking care what he's doing. Get me back to what I was just reading about. And this happens so many times that I'm just like, I don't like this character because he chops up stories that I care about.
He's a filler side quest.
That just
Go fetch my
continues.
pan
Yeah.
from this
I
building.
mean, sort of, but not. I don't know. I'm sure he's got a lot of fans out there, but he just takes up so much time in so many other books. I'm like, just give him his own. If you have so much stuff you need to do with him.
Right.
And so he shows up and in all the confusion, manages to stab Vulcan in the chest with a crystal of fulgurite,
Ooh.
which is a crystal type material that is, it's like fulgurite from Earth, where it's, sand that's struck by lightning and it creates that crystal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Only this is a crystal that seems to be created by whatever energy arc the Emperor emits.
Oh.
Okay. So his psychic energy kind of struck something like lightning and left behind this fulgurite.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
okay.
is apparently the only thing that can kill a perpetual.
Ooh.
Wait, what? Fuck. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So he stabs Vulcan in the chest and kills him. Like puts him down. He doesn't reconstitute. He doesn't heal. Nothing. And so they believe that this is the death of their brother, the Lion, and Sanguinius and Guilliman are there. This is around the time that the Imperium Secundus started to happen, where they thought the Emperor was dead during the Horus Heresy. So Macragge became the new
the new capital. Yeah.
Sanguinius became the new Emperor. They laid Vulcan to rest in a solid gold casket.
Oh.
There was 70 Salamanders left at this time.
Wow.
That's what they believe was left of the Legion.
That's like nothing.
Yeah.
That is nothing.
That is
And they were actually depressed because to them, their Primarch being laid in this cold metal casket is not, they are like fire in rebirth. And so
this
they
isn't
wanted
how to honor him, really.
Right. They wanted him to be laid into the fires of Mount Deathfire. Like that's where he's supposed to rest.
Right. Cast him into the fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And so none of this. So they're depressed about that when a character by the name of Numion shows up. Now Numion is a cool character. He's a character we might end up doing an episode on.
Cool.
He is the first captain of the Salamanders. He's rescued, and he, for some reason, doesn't buy any of this. He's like, Vulcan. He's the one that coined the frame. Vulcan lives. Stomp, stomp. So that became like his battle cry. Like nobody believed that he was alive,
Right.
or that he could be reborn. But he was insistent, and he basically told them, like, if we cast him into the fires of Mount Deathfire, he will be reborn. And so he got the Salamanders rallied, and they finally convinced the other Primarchs to allow them to take him back to Nocturne and lay him to rest there, at least. Like Numion was like, no, this will bring him back to life. They're like, this is what he wanted anyway.
Yeah, so everyone's kind of like, okay, may as well. I'm not buying that.
So the Salamander. So on their way to Nocturne, they pick up about 300 Salamanders. So
okay, gotcha.
And
that's a better
helpful.
number.
Yes, and so they really get hyped, by Numion.
Yeah.
And they're like, Vulcan's going to live. So they get there and they cast him into the fires, and nothing happens.
Oh.
He's not reborn. Like nothing. The other Salamanders actually handle it pretty well. And they're like, he's laid to rest. Let's take some time to regroup, and we will elect a new leader. Numion has none of this.
Huh.
He's like, nope, we did something wrong. About this time, Nocturne is actually attacked by the Death Guard.
Oh.
Huh.
Which was such a bad idea, apparently. Nocturne itself told them to fuck off.
Oh.
Like, the volcanoes started erupting, and like Godzilla-sized salamanders start coming out of the ground and start like attacking the Death Guard, and are just like, no, not right now. Like, fuck off. Which they do.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
And
Wow.
Nocturne has a cycle where the moon gets really close to it and fucks up its gravitational pull. And I can't remember what it's called.
Prometheus?
No, it's the time period of which this cycle happens. It's called like the time of challenge or something like that. We'll have future Eric put it in there.
Right on. Go, future Eric.
Go.
Gypsy, no, wait, I'm trying to fix something. It's called the time of trial.
But Numion gets a harebrained idea, and he waits until this cycle is just about to start. And he sneaks out and goes to Mount Deathfire and offers himself as a sacrifice and flings himself into the fire so that Vulcan might be reborn. We have no idea why he believed this would work.
Right.
And he never got to see whether it worked or not, obviously.
Oh, because
It was an act of pure faith.
Wow. Okay. Aw.
It did.
It must have worked. Yeah, because I still have my part to do.
Yeah.
It must have worked. I'm like at the edge of my seat, like, well.
So Vulcan was reborn, and he was reborn. When he was reborn, he met a man inside of Mount Deathfire that referred to himself as Deathfire Incarnate.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And this old man presented Vulcan with two things: a new thunder hammer called Uldrakul, which is a badass looking hammer. It's a big gold one that he wields. Fucking phenomenal.
Uldrakul.
And the talisman of the 7 hammers.
Okay. The 7 hammers.
Yep. And tells him that his mission now is to get to Terra.
Okay.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I'm taking a lot of time.
Oh, that's okay.
But by hook and by crook, he manages to get to Terra, which leads to a really good moment when he's welcomed to Terra by Rogel Dorn.
Yeah.
And it's the moment that like everybody points to as Vulcan being like awesome. Rogel Dorn's defining trait is stoicism, right? Like he's stoicism incarnate. And Vulcan can tell just how happy. He's the first Loyalist Primarch to arrive on Terra. So Rogel's like beyond happy to see him. And Vulcan can tell, and he kind of not pokes fun at him, but cracks a joke. He says, I would hug you, brother, if I knew you liked such things. And Rogel's like, yes, well, I don't. And Vulcan's like, I know, and then hugs him.
That's great. The hug that echoed across a fandom.
And Vulcan refuses to let go until Rogel smiles and hugs him back.
Oh, my God.
My brother.
Yeah, it was a really nice moment to read.
Yeah.
Because it was just funny to... he got, yeah.
Stoic Rogel. Just like, all right, cranks a smile and hugs his big old brother back.
In the grim darkness of the future. There was a hug.
There was a hug. There was a hug.
A hug between two Primarchs.
That echoed across eternity.
Yes. It was the most unlikely of hugs.
Sounds like the beginning of The Hobbit.
I know. I was trying to make
An unexpected hug.
Oh, God.
Beautiful.
But anyway, there's not a lot of time. Rogel tells him, he's like, hey, listen, as nice as it's been, you need to get to talk to our father right now.
Uh-huh.
And so he's ushered in there, and the Emperor tells Vulcan about the talisman of the 7 hammers. It is a failsafe device that the Emperor had Vulcan build in his fugue state between life and death, along with Uldrakul, apparently.
Oh, Vulcan fucking made them?
Yes.
Wow.
He has no memory of forging. Didn't know it.
Holy shit.
But what this talisman is that when placed into the throne, the golden throne, it becomes a failsafe. That should the Emperor die, it then sends out a psychic lash that will scour Terra of all life, whether it's material or immaterial.
Whoa.
Oh.
And it will completely like rock Terra, like just turn it into a husk.
Holy shit.
And what this will what this would do is it would prevent chaos from getting any of the Emperor's technologies.
Right.
And also it would be the Emperor foresaw that it would be the crippling blow to the Imperium that would eventually lead to the collapse of chaos, because chaos needs souls, right?
Right.
And taking out Terra would eventually cause like a pit to which everything would funnel into, to where eventually chaos
collapse of the Imperium pretty much
would be the collapse of the entire galaxy, because the Eldar wouldn't be able to sustain by themselves.
Right.
Whether they like it or not, they need the Imperium's help.
Yeah, their numbers are too few.
Right.
And
And so
too
this would
subject to-
eventually be the blow that would kill chaos.
Wow.
Yikes.
So this is like Plan Z.
Yes. And not only that, but it would have to be the only person that can activate it is Vulcan.
Oh shit. Okay.
And it can only be Vulcan can only activate it once he decided to put it into the throne. So it's Vulcan's choice twice, basically.
Wow.
And the Emperor tells him, the reason why I gave this to you is because you value life so much. You're the only one that can be trusted to be like, nope, it's to this point.
Wow. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Man, sacrifice is really the name of the game when it comes to Vulcan, isn't it?
Yes.
And
so Vulcan actually agrees and puts it into the throne. And so he now has access to that
Wow.
switch.
So now he's one decision away from.
Correct.
Yeah, if it comes to that.
Wow.
Wow.
So after that, also, I think Vulcan discovered the Webway technology that allowed the Emperor to do his
Oh, really?
his experiment.
Yeah.
I can't find anything that like confirms that, but there's some mentions I found in some of the other research during the Crusade that Vulcan came across several pieces of Webway technology.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And Vulcan has had several experiences that I kind of skipped over.
Right.
When he was getting from Nocturne to the palace, he found some Eldar that helped him use the Webway to get around chaos to get back.
Oh.
So, and then
Okay.
what I'm getting ready to lead into, Vulcan's had a lot of Webway experience, which makes me wonder if they're going to use that in his story later.
Okay.
Like in the 41st millennium, when he comes back,
Okay.
I wonder if he's going to have something to do with the Webway.
Right.
I don't know. So anyway, obviously, during this, the Emperor was building the Webway and then it got seized by demons and he spends most of the Horus Heresy holding this back.
Right.
Well, and this is the newest part of Vulcan lore. This is in Echoes of Eternity.
Okay.
This is the last time that I've seen Vulcan. The end and the death might have him in it, but I haven't gotten there yet. It's a thickened book, and I have to stop off it to do other research. But I'm getting there, I promise. But the Emperor found out that Magnus was the one sending the demons through, and so he sent Vulcan into the Webway to go after Magnus.
Uh-huh.
And Vulcan does. He confronts Magnus. He pulls a Doc Strange. Like he dies over and over again until he can get Magnus to really reveal his physical self. Because every time Vulcan would get close enough to hit him, it'd be like an illusion. And then Magnus would use his powers to kill him in some new creative way.
Right.
I think in one of them, he turned all of his blood cells to crystal. Shit like that.
Jesus.
Ouch. Yeah.
Ouch is right.
So shit
My
like
God.
The ultimate kidney stone.
Oh, ow.
It's a good thing Vulcan's got a giant salamander to pass it through.
It's no trouble at all.
Barely an inconvenience.
Oh, beloved Ryan.
But anyway, he does manage to kill Magnus, which all it does is send him back to Zeus's realm, right?
Right.
But it ceases kind of this ongoing surge of demons,
Right.
gives the Emperor a chance. What I bet is his opportunity to switch out with Malkador so that he can then teleport.
Right.
Where Vulcan is now in the Horus Heresy, where I'm at, is that he is on his way back to the palace through the Webway, but it's taking him a very long time because, like, it's killing him. Like, he's falling apart while he's walking, and he's reconstituting to walk further. And it's like, I think because of where he destroyed Magnus, the passageway is becoming unstable, and it's just like rendering him apart as he's trying to get back.
Wow.
So it's taking him a very long time to march back to the Webway, back to the entrance, which explains why he wasn't there when they teleported onto Horus's ship.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Wow.
what happens between him being in the Webway with Magnus and where you pick up, I think is where his lore is at right now.
Okay.
So we have this blank spot that we don't know what he was doing.
Right.
So
Okay.
with that, Eric, what happened after the heresy?
Okay. So after the heresy, I should have written down the years for this because it's the War of the Beast. And I didn't write that down, but that's fine. I'm sure that's common knowledge when this occurred. Obviously, it is long after the Horus Heresy.
Correct.
So, and the War of the Beast is really interesting. Like that deserves its own episode, honestly, which I think we'll be getting there with.
Which is funny because in the fandom, it's one of those stories people seem to either love or hate.
Is that right?
And I mean, the people that don't like it, they really don't like it.
Really? I wonder why.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
A lot of it is they don't like it so much that they just say, and then the War of the Beast happened, and then they make some offhand comment and they move on.
Huh. Interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of that. So
Yeah.
I would be curious as to why people didn't like it.
Yeah, and maybe when we dig in, maybe if we do an episode, we'll kind of discover why. Because I ended up, I realized there's a lot of like internal politics and infighting and stuff like that that seemed really interesting to me, but I skipped over it.
We're
to get
focusing
the
on the
stuff.
big man.
Yeah. So, but the short of it is, the orcs started becoming a really big problem to the Imperium.
Like Armageddon level problem.
Yeah, like it was bad. There were attack moons
Plural.
popping up everywhere.
Which are Death Stars on steroids.
Yep. And is this so that, and they knew this was led by the beast, what they called the beast. And what they were finding was that orcs were growing more intelligent. They were actually able to send ambassadors to
would that
speaking Gothic
to people that don't understand what that would be like. Imagine being approached by a shaved gorilla wearing armor and an axe, and it walks up to you, opens its mouth, and goes, "Hello, governor." Shit, a fist.
Take me to your leader. I must speak with him.
Right,
But perchance have a parlay.
yeah,
right.
actually.
I mean, yeah. Seriously.
From what I understand, this the minute the first ambassador came out, everybody was like, "What the actual fuck is going on?"
Yeah, what in the hell's going on?
You know what? You know what would be terrifying about that? Wouldn't you have that in the back of your mind and be like, "Is this the next stage of orc evolution? Are they all going to be like this?"
Oh yeah,
because the minute they're able to do that, you're fucked.
Yeah, because along with everything else with these guys, actual intelligence and strategy and the ability to negotiate,
it's not
just
there.
Would make them. Yeah, but if they had it, that would make them goddamn unstoppable.
Yes.
So yeah, attack moons are cropping up everywhere. There ended up being an attack moon over Terra at some point, so that was kind of nuts. But the very, very short of it is that a man named Corland ended up as the Lord Commander, despite the ongoing incompetence of the High Lords of Terra. They were kind of screwing shit up left and right? So we won't get into all that, but there is a whole lot of story there for that. And they were making some poor decisions and not taking the threat seriously until it was far too late and stuff like that. Finally, this Corland guy ends up in charge, and it's revealed to him that they know where Vulcan is. And Corland's like, well, we need him. So Vulcan is on a planet called Caldera.
Which was one of the planets that Vulcan liberated, and he renamed it Caldera.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. And I like the name of it, too, because a caldera is a huge, help me here. Not a crater.
Crevasse.
It's like the mouth of a volcano.
Yeah, the name of the mouth of a volcano. Yeah. Very crater-like. So I thought that was a cool name. So he's on Caldera, and he's staving off.
I want artwork of this.
I know.
This would
crazy.
be boss as fuck.
He is holding off single-handedly an invasion of orcs on this planet.
Thousands, tens of thousands.
What?
Yeah. There are planetary forces there, but all of the orcs are getting drawn to Vulcan.
Yeah. And he's just out there. There is a picture of him from this time period I'll bring up.
Neat.
Because you can just imagine. This is why I want to see the artwork. I want to see him in this armor with this hammer just going fucking ham.
Yeah, the hammer is called Doom Tremor. It's a new weapon, and he's just taking out hundreds of and thousands of orcs, at a time.
Sweeping.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing is gnarly.
Yeah, can you imagine just watching him wade through orcs like a fucking green tank?
I love his armor too.
The Salamanders. So the Alpha Legion probably have my favorite look, but man, the Salamanders look is hard to beat.
Yeah.
The Alpha Legion, I just love the Hydra, the scales, and the fins, and that's just a sweet fucking collars. I like the off collar of the Alpha Legion too.
Oh yeah.
Super.
Yeah. So between Vulcan's new hammer and his ability to regenerate as a perpetual, he's holding off these orcs. It is still a losing battle. The orcs are actually at this time actively they've got a gravitic generator, which is using gravity in some way to siphon off the planet's surface and core into orbit so that they can make a new attack moon with it.
Oh.
You don't understand how that works?
No, I don't.
You slept through class, didn't you?
It's very simple, really.
Yeah.
Quite simple.
We learned that in grade school, you bitch.
Well, if the orcs know how to do it and I don't, that says something.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say shit.
So they're doing that. Vulcan refuses to leave. Corland's like, hey, man, come on. We need a Primarch in this fight. Vulcan's not leaving because long ago he had sworn a vow that apparently is keeping him here on Caldera, fighting this losing fight, as Vulcan is tends to do.
There's
He's
that
holding the ground.
stubbornness.
Yep, that stubbornness. Yep.
Mm.
But Corland is like, all right, we'll help you out. So eventually they destroy the attack moon and the gravitic generator, which also kills Vulcan. But, he regenerates and comes back. And with the planet being saved, like they were able to, with their combined forces, defeat the Orc force. And so Vulcan agrees to go with Corland to Terra. At Terra, I guess Vulcan basically tells off the High Lords, like, you guys, this is your incompetence is bullshit, whatever.
It's insane.
I would love to see that, but he doesn't fire him. He doesn't get rid of him because for the sake of keeping, they're still fighting a war. He needs some unity there.
Yeah.
So now Vulcan is in charge, and they find the kind of the capital planet that the orcs are inhabiting, coming from. Where is the name of it?
Ulanor. Ulanor, I believe.
It does have a history.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, they're so they have a capital city on Ulanor, the orcs do, and a great big temple / palace, and it is on a special spot, the Triumph of Ulanor. It was the exact spot that the Emperor and the Primarchs assembled 1,500 years earlier.
Yeah, I believe that was actually the home world of the orcs.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Or what they considered to be their home world.
Right.
How reliable that would actually be.
That makes sense, though. So, right. So, we are at Ulanor. The forces of the Imperium have arrived. Vulcan is there, but Vulcan has, he's taken command. He's like, I am in charge. And then basically secludes himself while they're on their way there and while they're making preparations. And it's mostly up to the leader of the Mechanicum and Lord Commander Corland to strategize. And I think maybe Vulcan just did that because he's like, you guys just need somebody to prevent all this damn infighting.
I think so.
So that's probably what that is.
In my opinion, I think Vulcan was fed up with the Imperium. He was fed up with the red tape. That's one of the reasons why he chose to fight that war all by himself.
Aha. Okay. He's just like, I'll just deal with this myself. I'm sick of this.
Yeah. Also, I bet we're going to find out a lot about his headspace. Like, we don't have a lot. We don't know how he dealt with the death of the Emperor.
Right.
We don't know what he did right after the heresy. So I bet a lot of that's going to shed light on why he decided to do things specifically the way he did. But just speculating, I think it's because of, like you said, the red tape. He was just tired of all the bureaucracy and just decided to do it himself.
Yeah.
And setting himself up head that way, they couldn't end fight. They would have to ask him. And if he refused to see him, they wouldn't be able to make any decisions.
Yeah, that's true too. But so probably a good move. And he does seem to be one who's like, let the humans deal with human business as best they can. And I'm just here if needed.
Yeah, he has a good grasp on the fact that he's human, but not.
Right. Yeah, it's like you're not really a good representative of what this species is.
Right. And he really sees himself as a protector kind of sitting on the outside, I think.
Right.
Which a few of them have that. Sanguinius is a lot like that. He lets people make their decisions. Oh, Jagged Icon was a lot like that.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't really interested in the day-to-day. Lehman was like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about Lehman. Yeah.
Lehman wasn't about, he would let people make their own rules.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that quality in a Primarch.
Me too, honestly.
It's a good quality.
Yeah.
It's a good quality.
It's like a self-actualization kind of thing.
Yep.
So, they are at this orc capital world, basically, and they see the capital city with the capital palace thing there. Orbital bombardment is nearly ineffective because of the defenses that are set up on Ulanor by the orcs. And they find that the orcs, like, this planet is just covered in pretty well organized settlements as far as orcs go. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And Vulcan leads the ground forces since they can't really orbitally bombard. And at about that point, and this battle is crazy. What they find out is that Ulanor is no longer a planet. It is now it has been converted into an orc attack planet. We
Oh.
had attack moons before, and those were bad enough.
Right, but planets are bigger than moons.
Yes. So
by
now,
a factor.
yes. So that's bad. Of the Space Marines, just the Space Marines, they were approaching like nearly 50% casualty rates.
Oh yeah.
Um,
That's unfortunately that is pretty standard for salamanders.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. But it is Vulcan who kind of helps hold things together, and step by step they make their progress. And the terrain of the planet is actually moving to favor the orcs and stuff like that. Like this planet is moving.
What a difficult situation.
Yeah, they're in a pretty tough spot.
It's like Unicron.
Yeah. Their Titans are being taken out by the orc version of Titans. I have that written down somewhere. I'm sure the word will come up as we go because it becomes relevant
Sherry
again.
made my eyes go fucking cross-eyed. He's like, oh, it's Unicron. I'm like, there's a name I haven't heard in a while.
A Gargant. Gargant is the name of the orc Titans, basically. And so it's nuts. This is all getting crazy. So as Vulcan and his forces start getting close to this temple, because that's where the beast is. There's a lot of other stuff going on that I am way glossing over or skipping over. So don't yell at me in the comments, but do tell me about them in the comments. Right. I had to skip over them a lot. As they draw close to this temple, which is a huge temple palace thing, they find out it's not a temple. It is a giant mega, what did I call it?
Gargant?
Gargants. The temple starts rising up and laying waste to people.
What a twist.
So, what a twist.
Fucking orc titans.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Beast is he's got trap after trap. So Vulcan.
Which is impressive for a race that usually avoids shoelaces.
Yeah. Yeah. Shoelaces are a little complicated for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Vulcan leads a force of 3,000 Astartes in an assault on this quote unquote temple because they want to finish off the beast. They finally make it. They breach the hall. They get inside because, even a regular Titan, you're basically laying siege to a castle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that's
a moving one.
Yeah, that's a warhounds, let alone if you get into the Imperial class, the Imperator class, where they literally have cathedrals on top of them.
Yeah.
And then this thing's bigger than that, probably.
Right. Yeah. Like this thing's fucking huge. They had no way of classifying this at the time when they found it was just that big.
I'm imagining it's like this. Hey, go back and look at our Titans episode. But I'm imagining that this is a castigator class. That one that they found that they had to destroy.
The super huge one.
Yeah.
I'm imagining something along those lines.
Yeah. So they make it inside and they fight their way through. And they come upon kind of where the generator is for the power generator for this. I don't know why the word won't stick. I'll just keep calling it a temple. It's their temple and it moves and it kills things. Gargant. Thank you.
Temple Con.
Yeah. They also find a great big statue about 10 meters tall of a mighty orc warrior clad entirely in armor.
That's no moon.
They realize it's not a statue. It's the beast.
Huh?
Right there. Surprise after surprise after surprise.
I would actually be getting pissed at this point.
I know, it's like another one. Jesus. So Vulcan is the only one who can really stand up to this thing. A couple of chapter masters from other legions die.
Well, I'm sure.
Against the beast, as they're fighting. And Vulcan is telling the Lord Commander, pull the forces out. And, Corlin kind of realizes
cannot win this.
Yeah, this is another sacrificial moment sort of thing. So despite some opposition, Corlin does manage to get a tactical withdrawal from the Temple Titan or Temple Gargant.
Titan. It is.
Yeah.
It's a Titan.
Yeah.
It's an orc Titan.
It's an orc Titan. Vulcan tackles the beast into that power generator that I mentioned earlier. And starts getting over. So they're in the generator and Vulcan is getting overwhelmed with this war energy, which had consumed, they've run across it before throughout this war. And it always kind of consumes and destroys, anyone who kind of does tap into it. They had a problem with that with psychers, librarians, stuff like that. Vulcan is getting infused with it. And, But instead of being consumed by the war energy,
Because he's a perpetual.
because he's a perpetual, but also he gets in touch with kind of his own, I had it in quotes, his own primal and savage essence.
His psyker ability.
Yeah. He becomes one with the influx, in quotes, of Wa energy.
I bet this right here is the part that people didn't like.
Okay. And he smashes the beast in the face, which detonates the generator, which blows them both up along with the temple gargant, and basically cuts the head off the snake.
Yeah.
The rest of the orc forces are collapses. They disarray and stuff like that. They've lost, their leader and stuff. And so at the end of the day, the Imperium is able to triumph and limp its way back home.
Yeah, I bet the reason why people didn't like that is that's a mouthful of nonsense when you could have just said the latent psyker energy of a Primarch.
Yeah.
Combined with the war energy. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I will speculate.
Yeah. Tell us why. If you didn't like it, tell us why.
If you're one of those guys that didn't like this story,
like?
did you not like?
Yeah.
Or if you liked it, give us some reasons why you did like it.
Right. Yeah. Because to me, this was fascinating. And I did like that idea of him like kind of getting in touch with his own kind of inner like animalisticness or whatever. I quoted it earlier.
So you got to make it psyker energy because otherwise,
And I'm sure it was. And probably to somebody who's not a psyker, it probably was that equivalent. Like that's kind of probably what Vulcan had to do to get in touch with that kind of power.
Well, all humans are psychers, so to some level. So yeah, I mean that's probably the way to access it. But yeah, I can see why people probably didn't like that presentation of it. Is
sure, yeah. But smashed the beast in the face, destroyed the thing. After that, there were kind of whispers that the beast may not be,
of course,
defeated. But yeah, and that's where I left off with our dearest Vulcan. He got blowed up.
He did show up one other time, and he was going off into the Webway, and he told them that he would return. He pulled a Lehman.
Right. He left some things behind too for them to find. Right.
He left
9 artifacts.
The 9 artifacts.
The 9 artifacts.
Jerry, do you know of the 9 artifacts?
I do have a list of them. Yes.
Then let's do the 9 artifacts, Jerry.
Yay.
Okay. The first one is the Spear of Vulcan.
Nice.
Ooh.
The second one is the Kessere's Mantle, which Kessere was one of the magma worms, or the
Salamanders.
The Salamanders, the one that he had on his shoulder. The skull.
Nice.
Yeah. So Kessere's Mantle is something he left behind. The Gauntlet of the Forge.
Cool.
And those 3 things are currently wielded by the Forge Father Vulcan Hesten.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anytime there's a new Forge Master, they take that name.
Oh, okay.
And the Forge Master's job is to find all of the artifacts, because when you find all 9 artifacts, Vulcan will return.
Okay.
All right.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah. The next 2 are the Chalice of Fire and the Eye of Vulcan.
Oh.
And those they have found, and they are keeping them on the fortress of Prometheus above Nocturne.
Okay.
Okay. On the moon.
And the other 4, they have not found yet. They are the Engine of Woes, the Obsidian Chariot, the Unbound Flame, and the Song of Entropy.
Song of Entropy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll tell you this. Vulcan wrote, he's a poet.
Really?
During the Crusades, he wrote like a bunch of, like a book of sayings, more or less, book of poems.
Okay. So that's cool.
So I wonder what that Song of Entropy is.
Yeah.
That one stood out to me too. I was like, oh, that's not really.
And
a
the
thing
engine
of
of
war.
the Engine of Woes. Those two sound like the Engine of Woe and the Songs of Entropy. Those sound like chaos things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And he made all these things, I believe, didn't he?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. He
'Cause
forged them all. So
Yeah.
Because he's the forge guy.
The blacksmith fella.
Cool. Okay.
nice.
Nice.
You also got some war gear there.
I do have some war gear, but you guys mentioned some that were not on my list.
So that's fine.
The Draken Scale, which is his artificer armor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's the one that's got the skull of Kessere on it.
Nice. That's the one he wore during the Great Crusades.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And on his fan.
The Dawnbringer, which we talked about briefly.
Yep.
It's got teleporter technology in it.
Mm-hmm.
Enough to teleport him like world to world.
He uses it to teleport across the galaxy to McCrag.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
that seems to be kind of a one-off.
It's
Seemed to be him pressing its capabilities.
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, it says it's only liftable by a Primarch because it's so heavy.
Oh, we know another hammer that's kind of like that.
Oh, yes, we do. Mjolnir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
That's neat.
crossover there.
Nice.
And then there's the Furnace's Heart, which is like an energy weapon pistol.
Yeah, it's a plasma pistol.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the names of their plasma pistols.
It was a gift from Ferrus Manus.
Yep.
Aw.
Just like how Mortarian's is the lantern.
Yep.
I did read that for some reason he does not like to use
He doesn't. They
Yeah.
don't. The Salamanders themselves, they don't like ranged weapons.
it. Okay.
They like flamers,
Right.
obviously,
Yeah.
but they prefer hammers. He did wield a power sword. Not sure what that was called. That's the primary weapon that he wielded during Isfan 5.
Oh, okay.
And then at some point during the battle, he switched over to Dawnbringer.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think the sword probably broke at some point.
Right.
He had Ul Dracul,
Mhm.
which was a thunder hammer,
Yep.
and then he had Doombringer.
And then, of course, the one that he was using, what did I call it? Future Eric, help me out.
Doom Trimmer, dumbass.
So, oh yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah. Think we're ready for a few comparisons before we get out of here?
Yes, I believe we are.
All right. So, obviously, Vulcan has he's got a pretty obvious parallel in the Roman god Vulcan, who was the god of fire and the forge.
Volcanoes
Yep.
as well.
Yep, that's right. He resided in a volcano and stuff like that. So that was pretty neat that the volcano was how they resurrected Vulcan
Yep.
at one point. There's also some Christ allegory in here.
Oh, just a
The
little.
sacrifice.
Yeah, the sacrifice, just a little. Getting stabbed by the special thing was kind of what killed him,
The
you know?
spear.
Yeah, you've got that spear of destiny there.
Being tortured.
The torture, yes, the torture, that extended period of time through the torture, you're right.
The Satan dark figure trying to temptation break the will.
Break them and change them. So
He died and then met something while he was in between death
right.
Yeah.
and then
And
came back.
made things while he was there too, and then came back. So there's a lot of cool ones there, and of course, just that whole thing with sacrifice with him, his love for humanity being more so than any other Primarch that we're seeing. A lot more empathy out of him.
Jesus the carpenter.
Yeah.
The
Vulcan the blacksmith.
craftsman.
Oh yeah.
They're both craftsmen.
So yeah, the Christ allegory here is strong. There's another one I picked up on as we went. The Titan Prometheus from Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly regenerating. Prometheus had to constantly regenerate his liver.
Brought
because
fire and light.
Yep, he brought fire and light to mankind. He and that was so Prometheus's name means forethought, so it's implied that he knew it wasn't going to go over well if he helped out humankind, but he did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a bit of Hephaestus.
Hephaestus, yeah, and he's the Greek god of. I'm drawing a complete blank on what's up with Hephaestus for the most part, but yeah, there's that fire and
he
the
created all the
forge
weapons for the gods.
Yeah,
he was actually considered kind of untrustworthy, I guess.
Yeah.
People didn't trust blacksmiths back then.
right.
And he was ugly.
And he was ugly. Yeah,
Which is
he was
interesting
malformed.
Because the Salamanders are considered to be one of the most evil looking.
Yeah.
They're black skinned with red eyes. They appear wreathed in flames and fire.
Yeah.
But
That's a good point.
they're not.
Yeah, they're one of the best of them. Yeah.
They're not savages.
No.
Not like the World Eaters or the Night Lords.
Yeah.
Or even, I dare say, the Volca Fenrica.
Yeah. Those savages.
They
I'm just
are.
kidding.
They are.
They
They're
are.
savage as fuck.
Noble
mean they're-
savages.
Yeah. Doesn't mean they're stupid.
So he was, pretty rich with parallels there. I thought that was really cool. And of course, dragons and, man, there's a lot to this guy.
Mhm.
So
He seems to be a fan favorite for a lot of reasons, and I can definitely see why.
I can definitely see why
He's
too.
definitely one of my favorites that we
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
I
Any
like him.
final thoughts?
I want to hug him. I'm a little jealous of
That would be a big warm hug.
Yeah, it would be a big warm hug. He could pick me up off my feet and give me a big old hug because
Make you feel nice, warm, and safe.
very
Oh my God, and
yeah,
safe.
and
Jesus.
safe. My God,
Hugged by a mountain.
he is the biggest Primarch.
So one of our, forgive me for not being able to pull it, but one of our listeners actually informed me that Ferrus Manus is said to be a whole head taller than Vulcan.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
But he is the physically strongest.
Physically strongest. Okay. Gotcha.
Which Angron was able to hold up the foot of a Warhound Titan. So who knows?
That says something.
It does.
Yeah, there's something to say there.
Jerry, final thoughts on Vulcan?
You know, I just like him. I really like this guy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's kind of a breath from the grim darkness a little bit.
Yeah, it is a nice, refreshing kind of.
And so are the Salamanders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to agree. He was the Primarch that first caught my attention. I liked them as the shining star in the dark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the Blood Angels are supposed to be like that example of heroes and stuff, it really is the Salamanders and Vulcan that are the true heroes, right? They're the selfless kind.
Yeah. They're the real believers.
Yep.
They
The Blood Angels do it to be an example. The Salamanders do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. And thereby become the example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
a great Primarch, great episode. We will definitely be doing a part 2 when we get more lore on him, and we'll be covering his Legion, the Salamanders, whenever God Emperor allows us. That's how
when we claw our way out of Mount Doomfire.
I'm doing fire. Yes.
So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode.
Yeah. Be sure to type in @CultTalkNet into Google and follow us on all the things that you find there. We have a link tree too if you need a more centralized location to find that. It's all @CultTalkNet. That's
right.
the easiest way to find us.
Cult of Campbell.
Cult of Campbell's a great show. We're trying to start up Cult of Russell here and there. We're trying to rustle us up some Russell.
Oh my God. We've got Cult of Conspiracy. What's the release? Cult Talks Conspiracy.
Cult Talks Conspiracy, and that comes out Tuesdays? Every other Tuesday.
Don't worry, we can edit this to make it look like we know what we're talking about.
Oh, is that what you think?
Yeah, and you won't know what we're talking about.
I was here and I don't know what we're talking about.
And of course, Cult of Lore every first and third Thursday / Friday of the week.
We swear. And forthcoming is the 2-year anniversary of Cult Talk Net as a whole. Really, but all starting with Cult of Campbell, and we'll be doing a special crossover episode of that coming up.
Necronomicon.
Yeah, so that's exciting, and I think that's all of our
plugs.
All the
It
plugs.
is.
Yeah.
If you've listened this far, thanks. And with that, we'll see you all next time. I'm Ben.
I'm Eric.
This episode was hot.
And we'll see you all next time.